Hi there and welcome to Bustthenet. Yes, this is the episode I like to call Gamechanger. It's a chance for me to get into your safe, take a look at what's going on, and I get these submitted to me quite a lot. And on today's show, we are heading to Italy. It's the Serie D, the fourth division. We've got a club here called Messina, managed by Matt Hagon, and he's asked for some help because he's had a result against Gravina, which was a 4-1 defeat, and he's pressed the help button because he thinks things are going to get from bad to worse. And well, before I get into the safe, we'll go through the safe first up. Since this Serie D, it's basically amateur status, semi-professional football. So when it comes to training, I'm not gonna deal with training because there's not very much that you can do apart from the fact that you can just ask your boys to train hard, and that's about it. And what we're gonna do instead is we're gonna focus on how his team stacks up with the rest of the league, and then look for strengths, weaknesses, and then see how he did in the last game and what the weaknesses were and how he should address those weaknesses. So when I'm looking at this team, there are definitely a lot of positives because Messina in the league, they're not expected to get relegated. In fact, they're one of the teams that are supposed to get promoted. Messina are one of the favorites. They're a pretty strong club in this league. Their next match is against Gela, which is going to be very challenging because this is another team that has an outside chance of being promoted, so they can't be taken lightly. So as far as this team is concerned, Messina, their team report, when I'm looking at their team report, it seems like there's a lot of positives in the team report. This team has got a lot of cover in the central midfield position. They've got one of the best passing completion rates in the league. They've got a very good GD goal difference. They've scored quite a number of goals that lead the league in goals scored as well as goals conceded. So fairly solid. They have enough cover in central midfield, no cover in the fullback department, and some concern as far as jumping reach and heading is concerned, as far as their central defenders are concerned. So now, how does this team stack up with the rest of the league? Now, the next part is to find out, right? Basically, what the average number you gotta the average that you have to hit with your attributes. So when we're looking at defenders, we're looking at their positioning here, jumping reach and heading. So when it comes to their positioning, the number they have to beat is 11.60, which is the best. So we round it up, we get 12. So 12 is a number that they have to beat. In terms of decision making or in terms of concentration, you can see it's about 11 as well. So I will round out the number to 12 when it comes to mentals for defenders. What about the physicals when it comes to defenders? Here we're looking at jumping reach. Jumping reach number to beat is 12 again. But you want to compare this to strikers. So strikers jumping reach in the league is actually 13. So if you are worried about handling crosses in the box, then there are teams that have strikers that are 13. You are fifth in the league at 9.80 for your strikers. And as far as your defenders are concerned, you are 10.75. The best number to beat is 12. However, strikers coming at 13 means that occasionally your boys will be beaten in the air. What about positioning? Positioning, you're looking at 12 again. Here we want to compare it to midfielders and strikers. Strikers are off the ball in the league is about 12. So it's probably the number here that I can see is 12. 12 is a number that you got to beat. Now the next thing we want to do is look at midfielders. Now here we're looking at off the ball and positioning because if the off the ball in the center of the park is poor, it means that you can actually flood the midfield and you can get away with it. You can control lots of games just by making sure that your team always keeps the ball, and it's suggested by the passing rates that you have that your team can do that. So here we're looking at off the ball for the league, and the number is 12 again for midfielders off the ball, and positioning is 8. So there's poor positioning in the league. So your boys can always find, if your boys positioning is any number greater than 9 or 10. So if you're aiming for 12 for positioning as well, or 11 for positioning, your boys are going to do quite well. And it means that you can probably create systems or use systems that keep the ball in midfield. And what will happen as a result of that is opposition teams might have trouble. So it looks like there are certain tactical systems, especially those that have 3 men or even 2 players in midfield. But generally, playing with AMs will give you an edge. Wingbacks, fullbacks that hold positions in midfield are going to create lots of problems for other teams. So looking at just this alone, I'm already kind of confident of your tactics as well. So these are all very simple to see, right? And what about an attack? Now we're looking at, in terms of attack, we want to see acceleration and we want to see off the ball. Acceleration for your strikers that they've got to beat is 14. Now, we already know that defenders have got 12. So numbers 14 is a pretty high number in the league. So if you have players that have got high acceleration, then they're going to be able to get behind a lot of teams and score goals. This makes them very good. So you can, what you can see here from this information is, if I had a tactic and I wanted to play a 4-4-1-1, it would not be a bad idea, because an inverted winger in this kind of a league, running at defenders from a higher position is going to create more havoc than an inside forward in most cases. So why? Because when an inside forward runs at defenders, usually it's against teams that have already got their players back in defense, whereas inverted wingers have got a larger area of the pitch to work off, and generally they can, if they can hold on to the ball and dribble, they are going to draw a lot of players out of position, and that's going to be quite a sight to behold, provided of course you have players for that. So acceleration is 14 that you have to beat, so that's interesting for your strikers. So let's look at how your team has been playing so far. Now in this game against Gravina, you lost 4-1, which is the reason why you sent me this video. I have not looked at Citra de Messina, but let's just focus on this match first. Now there were several goals that were scored. Now the first goal that Gravina scored against your team came from there are 2 goals that you conceded from set pieces. One was from a free kick like this, which is unfortunate because it's more to do with your goalkeeper not judging the flight of the ball properly. This goal, on the other hand, is dangerous. Why? Because it already tells me something. This is a common problem a lot of players make with their tactics. Number 10 should be this position. You have to have somebody marking the far post, and this is not being done. And Pompeo comes in far post and he hits the ball in. So your set pieces from wide positions don't have somebody marking far post effectively, and this needs to be addressed. So that was your second goal. So you conceded 2 goals from set pieces. Against Citra de Messina, here again, this must have been a derby, because I'm trying to figure out, okay, this must be your team. Okay, so again, far post, boom, not cleared properly. Ball comes back to Mendola. Mendola plays it out to Potravino. Graziano comes away, crosses it. Defensive free kick. I mean, that was a transition. Your boys are out of position. Here we Graziano, header. Di Stefano plays it to Mirabelli. Over the top, your defensive line has an issue. And so your defensive line has an issue and the ball went over the top. Unfortunate. Those kind of things will happen in your game. The only thing you can do is you got to look at your mentality, whether you're playing it a bit too high. That would be the easier fix, lowering your mentality to positive or balance, because that was definitely attacking. And if you lower your mentality, your defensive line lowers just a fraction, instead of you having to lower your defensive line now manually, which is quite an aggressive change. So looking at the tactics, as they sit. Now, when I'm looking at this tactic, because I'm just going to focus on this tactic, because this is not a bad system to play with your team. If I'm looking at your squad, your central midfielders, you've got quite a few central midfielders, and most now let's take a look at your central midfielders. Your central midfielders, they're not too bad. You've got an easier way of doing this to go squad depth and do a comparison here. And I'm looking at central midfielders. You've got a few of them who are not too bad. This guy is pretty decent. You got this player on loan who's also not too bad. So these are your two best midfielders. Then you got Carota, who's decent. And then Bosa, who's okay. So you got two decent midfielders and maybe a third that you can play in your system. So they're not too bad. All right. You probably will have to go out and find another left back because you don't have enough cover in the left back position. As far as the central defenders are concerned, you don't have a lot of options. You've got Pocharo, you've got Cosetino, who's okay, and then you got Romano, who's also okay. So you got this guy who's got very good jumping reach, but he can't tackle. So there's not a lot of options. So I would definitely recommend playing with a DM to give your team a bit more of a screen. So your tactics are going to revolve. The best tactics for your team are going to revolve around getting that additional screen in defense. So one defensive midfield. So it looks like if I wanted to work on this team, I'll probably stick with the strikeless pilgrimage hybrid system that you have, but we'll make a couple of changes. Why? Because we want to have a system that gives us two options, right? We want to be able to control most of the games, and we want to have a plan A and a plan B. Now, how am I going to get a plan A and a plan B in a tactic? Looking at your tactic as it sits, there aren't a lot of plans. We got a DLP here. Looking at your PIs, there's so many PIs there. Passive shorter, closer, more tackle, other mark tighter. I got another PI laden attacking playmaker here, and I've got another BBM who's got PIs coming out of his nose. You got AM here who's got PIs coming out of his nose. You got, okay, thank goodness the IF doesn't have any. The wingback has got some PIs close down more. Another one will close down more. Two ball playing defenders who don't look like they can do the job very well. Okay, so might be asking for a bit much from our boys at the back, and then it's a bit risky. So this system is quite risky. I would much rather have a player in this role that's dropping a bit deeper and unleashing the inside forwards, and with the option of eventually unleashing these guys, because you got inside forward attack, a wing back on attack, on a flank where you're operating with a roaming player and a BPD who's just gonna give the most likely is gonna give the ball away. So while it's okay, I mean, there are some situations where this could actually work, but let's give our tactics some stability first, right? Make it hard for teams to concede goals, but also give us options in attack. So what would we do? We already played our first match against Gala. We made some slight changes to your tactic. Gala tried to clear the ball from their own half. We didn't push up very high. We're just playing on a positive attack, positive mentality. As you can see, the goal here is to make sure that Gala can't get the ball out and threaten you at the same time. So we got players covering the right positions. We got one guy here, with the option later to unleash them if we need to. Carota played the ball to Fania. Fania is playing as now is playing as a playmaker. You can even play an AM on support, but we use the playmaker so that we can use this as like a hook in midfield. Mendola gets the ball, and then look at what kind of options he has. So Russo comes down, beats the player, and then holds the ball up and cuts the ball inside. And then we get the ball out to Carota again, and now the other wingback goes down the flank, pulling this guy with him, which is quite nice to watch. And at this point in time, with Carota with the ball, we suddenly get a very dangerous position. We've got Mendola free for the pass. We got Russo now free for the pass, and they're both onside. The ball gets to Mendola. Russo works himself into a fantastic position, and any kind of a good cross drilled across the face of goal is going to result in a goal. And Watanabe makes no mistake. And this was good movement off the ball. The team played well and they won the game. We won this game 2-0. In the second half, we actually went and turned the two fullbacks on support into wingbacks on attack and continued to uh, control that game. We won the game in the end. So what did we do differently? Now, I started the game with this guy as an Engash. You can play these guys in Engash. You can play these guys in AM on support or AP on support. So in the end, I just left him as an AP on support. Why an AP on support with move into channels is because we want this guy to become a kind of a hook in the middle of the park so that he has options to play the ball either to the two inside forwards, or when the opportunity arises, then Mendola will look for Russo or he can look for Paulus on the right flank. So we also have a Mazzala on support who's told to dribble less often and shoot less often. A Carrello who takes few risks and shoots less often. Up top we've got close down more on this guy, close down more on this guy, no close down on this guy so that he doesn't do any defensive work. These guys are just going to keep putting pressure on the fullbacks. Now, mentality, we started on positive. You can play on attacking as well if you needed to. DM doesn't do anything spectacular. Fullbacks don't do anything spectacular. Interestingly, if I needed to get another goal, what I would do is I would go inside forward and support, wing back on attack, and wing back on attack. So I get more players involved in the transition. I get these guys overloading and bombing down the flanks when we get opportunities like that. As far as tempo is concerned, I change the tempo to higher. Pass into space, sometimes I will leave it on, sometimes I'll remove it. It depends on the situation. There's not too many PIs being used in this system. You can definitely use play out defense if you wanted. I also remove roll it out as an instruction for my goalkeeper, so that we gave him the option in case we end up with systems that are putting a lot of pressure on our team. Then the goalkeeper has the option of playing it long if he wants to. As far as the line of engagement was concerned, we removed use tighter marking, kept the lower line of engagement standard defensive line. Sometimes I push it up, but it's always either standard or most of the time we play on standard defensive line. Considering the fact that your boys aren't very good in the air, get stuck in, prevent short goalkeeper distribution, and use offside trap. So these were the play instructions that we ended the tactic on. Of course, at the start of any system, I'll go inside for an attack, fullback on support, and fullback on support. This is how we'll start most of our games, and if we need to, this will ensure that we end up controlling. What about Mazzala inside forward or Mazzala on AP and support? Don't they create problems for your tactic? Well, not really. Why? Because Mazzala is going to roam the half spaces. This guy is going to attack the half spaces. So this is not an issue. There are times I have also done this. I would also do this. I would also sometimes turn this guy into a Mazzala on attack. You can also play this guy as an inverted wing back on support or defend. There are so many options with this tactic, because in this particular case we'll have inverted wing back on support roaming this area here. Then I will change this guy into a wing on support. So or this will give me the width I need. This guy will help us control. There'll be a thrust through the middle in this tactic. So there's so many options. But the biggest problem that your tactic actually had was the fact that you did not create the right set piece routines. Here I modified the set piece routine so that we have somebody at the far post, somebody at the near post, somebody in the center. These two guys are zonal marking. Now, personally, I like to have somebody in this position and this position. However, I noticed this is your tactic and this is how you like to set your set pieces up, which is fine. This, as long as you have somebody at far post, near post, you do okay. In terms of attack, now naturally I generally prefer attacking near post, attacking far post. These are the three roles that are three positions that I think are non-negotiable. Where your tactic fell short was in the free kick department. Now, when you're defending free kicks wide and deep, you want far post and near post covered. So these are the two areas that you want to cover. So you have to make sure that you do this in your free kick routines, wide and deep. Now, when it comes to attacking, it's the same principle again. You can attack. Personally, when it comes to attacking free kick routines, especially the indirect deep and the indirect wide ones, I actually have this guy coming forward if they're good at heading. Then I get my two center backs attacking those positions. Then I'll just set my free kick routine to attack far post. So if it goes to the far post, I've got one very good jumper header there to knock it down for another player to come and attack the box. And sometimes what I do is my striker is the one that's coming to attack the box from here, attacking the ball from deep. So I get my striker attacking the ball from deep. He attacks from the edge of the area. And then we have 1, 2 options at near post and far post. So this could be your attack routines. The only thing that is I felt that your system really needed was your set piece routines needed a bit of work, and you needed to tweak your set piece routines. As far as your general tactic was concerned, your general tactic was okay, except the fact that you didn't give yourself too many options. Now, if I were to set it up, there are so many ways to set it up, but the way I played it was I started with a fullback on support, and I played Mazzala on support here, so that we control midfield most of the time. The whole goal was to get the ball up the pitch and then use our inside forwards to create havoc against opposition teams. Now, naturally, there will be times when teams are going to be camping against you. When they're camping against you, then I have other options. I can either use an inverted wingback Mazzala attack combination here, or we can turn Russo into a wingback on attack, inside forward and support, and this guy can overlap. You can leave it unchanged, right? Like this as well. You can have like plan C, less aggressive version. Inside forward and support, wingback on attack. This is a less aggressive version. If you're like worried, okay, what if I'm going to concede goals? This is not as aggressive as the first version, but it's going to be very hard for the opposition to get out of your box. In fact, against Gela, and they had no shots on target. They could not muster a single shot on target throughout the whole game. We were just spending a lot of time, trying to unlock Gela. We took it in our own stride. I especially liked our first goal. The first goal was caused by very good movement in and around the box, which is surprising considering all the feedback that's on the forums lately about how people cannot get enough forward attacking movement in the final third. Your team did very well with forward attacking movement. So I hope you enjoyed this edition of Gamechanger and you found it useful. If you have any questions, you know where to find me on Twitter at Bustthenet or addicted to FM.com, my website. Once again, I'd like to thank all my patrons for their continued support of this channel. I hope you found these shows useful. I look forward to hearing from all of you very soon. You guys take care. Have a good one. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.